Zelda Universe, what's up? My name is Margar. I'm known as Fruit Bat on the forum these days. You know me as the sometimes host and all the time co-producer of the ZUBC ZUcast, the official podcast of Zelda Universe. Today I'm going to be answering some of your mailbag questions. So let's get right to it, shall we? Alright, question number 1. Lulz writes, "Hi! I have a simple question. Do you have any theories of why the Gerudo were absent in Twilight Princess? Or do you just think Nintendo was too lazy to give them a role and left them out?" Well, the short answer is who knows. That's no fun. Okay, so Twilight Princess is basically regarded by a lot of theorists as being on the child timeline, meaning that in Ocarina of Time, Zelda sends Link back to his childhood to live out his life properly, or whatever, and it's assumed that Link warns Zelda and the king about Ganondorf's intentions, and they avoid the crisis. But they never explain, obviously, what happens to Ganondorf. Do they jail him, execute him, put him on trial for treason? Maybe they just tell him to go away, and he goes back to his desert and lives out the rest of his rule as the king of the thieves. We don't know. Even that in itself is beyond speculation. Anything can happen in a few decades or a few hundred years, depending on how far ahead you think Twilight Princess takes place. So maybe the Gerudo faded into obscurity, maybe they were nomadic and moved along somewhere else, who knows? And certainly I don't, because I don't work for Nintendo. Question number 2, The Ripple Effect says, "Recently Miyamoto mentioned that the vitality sensor may be used in Zelda games, and as you get more scared, the enemies will get harder. That sounds cool, but I've never really been scared in a Zelda game. Startled a little, but not scared. So if they implement this, they're going to have to make Zelda a lot scarier. Do you think they'll up the scare factor? And if they do, will we actually see an M rating?" If they do use the vitality sensor, if that is confirmed that they will use it for Zelda, that gives us some insight into the control scheme, because having this thing on your finger and trying to hold a nunchuck, as Ombre explained, that's kind of crazy.
Wii Remote, Motion Plus, connect that. We have the nunchuck. Connecting the nunchuck to the Motion Plus. There's nowhere to put the vitality sensor.
So that would make the controls a little weird. But the problem I have with it, from a technical standpoint, is that when I play Zelda, I get pissed off. If I'm not swearing and cursing and flailing around, I'm not having fun. Because it means I'm not being challenged. I'm just sitting there playing the game and not getting upset. So I like to get kind of riled up. It doesn't mean I'm scared, but it would certainly mean that my heart rate would be going up and my pulse would be going up. And if I'm already ticked off because I'm doing something hard, why would I want the enemies to get harder? That would be a nightmare, and I would curse Nintendo. Now, when talking about whether it's going to make the game darker or scarier, there's a lot more speculation to that one. I wouldn't be upset if Nintendo said that they were going to make a mature, darker, scarier Zelda. I wouldn't be upset. I would be cautiously optimistic. I would be open to the idea, let's just say that. However, one of the things I really like about Zelda games is they don't take themselves too seriously all the time. There's a lot of cheesy puns, cultural references, inside jokes, and just silly, stupid stuff. And I like that, and I'm not sure how they would get the balance right. I wouldn't want a dark, scary, depressing, freaky, creepy Zelda all the time. It could be done, but it would make me nervous. So, as for the actual prediction, who knows? But I do hope that no matter what, that it would be an option. Like, I wouldn't want to be forced to use this contraption. The last question here is from Zelda theorist B211. He says, or she says, "In Four Swords Adventures, the village of the Blue Maiden is south from the Eastern Temple, but in A Link to the Past, Lake Hylia is south of the Eastern Temple. So is the village of the Blue Maiden Lake Hylia?" It very well could be. I have an interesting theory. So, okay, my personal theory about the population and villages of Zelda games are, or the lack thereof, is that they're representative. So, you've always got extra buildings with no doors that you can't go in, or empty houses, or you get to a village that has like 2 people in it. By the way, Kakariko Town in Twilight Princess sucked. It's like the guy and his daughter, and he's like, I have to stay here and protect my village. What are you protecting? Anyways, I digress. So anyway, I kind of look at it as representative. You may see a couple people here, a couple people there, half a dozen houses, but I just assume that they show you the important stuff. And the topography of what you see in the game isn't to scale of what might actually be there. Maybe I'm just making a little excuse and forgiving Nintendo for a minor transgression there. So yeah, in A Link to the Past, Lake Hylia is like, there's nothing there except a crappy shop and a fortune teller. And who is going to this shop and this fortune teller? Like, you would think that a lake would have commerce and fishing and people that live around it, so I just assume that maybe people do live around it. It just, you don't really see it because Nintendo decided they didn't care. It's a 16-bit game. I don't know. The bottom line is it's fun to speculate on what may or may not have been their intentions. You'll see all sorts of changes from map to map, like Death Mountain will be here in one game, here in another game, whatever. I just think they just take creative license with it, and it usually works out. Well, that was all the mailbag questions I have for you this week, and it was fun to do something different. So I'll see you on the forums. Come visit the forums. Wait, if I'm sitting here, the forums, the button is like over here. See ya. Podcast, April something.